For our first story, we have, am I the asshole? For my response when my sister's husband commented on my husband's manhood. My husband has been sick for few months now and recently had a surgery. My parents hosted dinner for him and invited the whole family. My sister's husband Mike is the tell it as it is type of man. Basically the brutally honest type. My sister says she loves him for his honesty, but because of it we've had issues in the past. After dinner, we were sitting down while my husband was in another room. He was getting some rest. Mike looked at me and asked if my husband was still good in bed, because he had read that when men get sick, their performance would get lower. I was floored by his question. Everyone was looking at me in silence. It was absolutely awkward. My sister smiled at me as a sign to let it go, but instead, I responded, well, at least better than men who can't even impregnate their women. Now this is where I might be the asshole. Mike and my sister has suffered from infertility for 10 years, and it's on Mike's side. This response caused a huge argument, and although Mike stormed off and didn't say anything, my sister went off calling me abhorrent and shaming me for going low and using her husband's infertility against him. I told her he insulted my husband's manhood, but she said I took this whole thing out of context and made it personal since he was just talking about men in general. After the argument, she and Mike left and my mom demanded I apologize. My husband didn't even know what we were arguing about. Mom told him I was arguing with my sister over dessert. Mom said I was in the wrong for hurting my sister's feelings with what I said and told me to apologize, but I still refused. AITAHH? That's the end of our first post. Let's see what the commenters had to say. Our first commenter says, your brother-in-law is a fucking weirdo. What kind of question is that to ask when someone has been sick for months and recently out of surgery? Like, why the fuck is the concern your sex life while his brother-in-law is sick? A normal person would not even think of this. WTF. Our second commenter says, I have a bill just like this. He says he's just being honest. He's also a prepper and conspiracy theorist. Honestly, it's tiring just trying to not get angry about the jabs and insults. One of his favorite sayings, he has 2 siblings, is, my mother had 2 stupid kids, not 3. One day, I just said, which one are you? And caused WWII. Our third commenter says, about 2 years ago, my boyfriend was diagnosed with terminal colon cancer and had to have a colostomy. A friend asked me if it grossed me out to have sex with someone with a colostomy bag. I said no and then never spoke to her again. 10 out of 10, no regrets. For our second story, we have, am I the ass for asking my roommate's wife to wear bottoms around the house? My so and I have been putting up our bill while he's trying to move back. He's employed and is paying token room and board while him and his wife attempt to sell their house. It's been 6 months so far. My Bill's spouse, Tina, is late 30s, a larger girl and some health issues. She's visited before and ruined decorative pillows due to having accidents on them, as she likes to sit on our black decorative cushions. She's now been spending half of every month, and shouldn't be, in my home, as a guest. She doesn't wear underwear under her nightgown and will stay in her nightgown the majority of the day. I've had it. I watched her ruin another decorative pillow by sitting on it and leaving vaginal discharge and urine on it. I gave her a day to clean it and she pretended it didn't happen. I ended up throwing out the pillow in disgust and bleaching the seating mat underneath it. She then wore the same pee-stained nightgown the next day and I watched her as she lifted it up to sit down bare butt on my furniture. So we've spoken to her husband in hopes that he can tell her to wear underpants nicely. I am also considering getting her a box of incontinence pads and leaving it in the bathroom she uses. Am I the asshole in this? It's disgusting, right? Editing for answers. 1. Yep, real. I'm ADHD and don't react appropriately. I didn't know if I was overreacting or underreacting. These words help. Thank you all. 2. It's my SO's brother, and up until he moved in his wife and I, hadn't spent more than a couple hours together, a day at most. 3. I have a chronic illness myself, so have tried to be tolerant and understanding and forgiving. Incontinence is a shameful topic. 4. Size plays into severity of incontinence issues. 5. I do have a pic of the last cushion she sat on. 6. My home's theme is earthy colors, blacks, browns, reds, and whites. Yes, I have black cushions, decorative pillows 7. The roommate is employed locally, their house is several hours drive away. He's supposed to be going home on weekends but due to mountain passes, winter weather and illness hasn't been home in over a month. 8. It's not the first conflict the wife and I have had. That's the end of our second post. Let's see what the commenters had to say. Our first commenter says, "That's nasty. You're more tolerant than I would be. Your house, your rules. I wouldn't give her a ton of chances to comply." Our second commenter says, "You own your house. He is your guest. You control the door. Dear God, woman. She is no longer allowed over to the house, and if he doesn't like it he can leave tomorrow." Geez. Not the asshole. Our third commenter says, "I just gagged a little reading that. Please tell your brother-in-law that she is not allowed to stay over ever. Also go buy some pee pads for dogs and put them over all the furniture and pillows while she's there." For our last story, we have, "Am I the ass for walking out of yoga class after the instructor hit on my daughter and kissed her? My mom has been begging me to join her yoga class, so I agreed and brought my daughter, 19 female, along. From the moment we walked in, the instructor, let's call him Chad, mid-40s, thinks he's some sort of spiritual guru, zeroed in on my daughter. He kept complimenting her energy and asking her deep, awkward questions about her soul connection. My deaf grandmother, 85 female, saw what was happening and signed to me that she thought he was cute. Class starts, and my grandma, who has no idea what's going on, starts doing her own random stretches in the back. Meanwhile, Chad keeps adjusting my daughter more than necessary, hands lingering way too long on her waist, whispering things like, "Relax, feel the flow." She looked super uncomfortable, but he didn't seem to notice. Then, after the class ends, as everyone is packing up, Chad grabs my daughter by the shoulders and leans in for what I can only describe as a full-on kiss on the cheek. My daughter was frozen, absolutely stunned, and I lost it. I rushed over, grabbed her, and told Chad he needed to back off. He just stood there smirking, acting like he'd done nothing wrong. I stormed out with my daughter and told my mom that we were never coming back to that studio. Now my mom is furious at me, saying I'm being too dramatic, and my grandma keeps signing, "He had good energy, you should have let it go." Am I the ass for pulling my daughter out? Because I feel like this went way beyond just a yoga class. Update. Thank you all for your support. This morning, I met the studio owner for the first time to discuss all of this. She apologized sincerely and admitted that Chad's behavior had been excessively insistent, not only with my daughter but even with her on previous occasions. She seemed very young herself. She assured me that she finds his actions completely unacceptable and plans to fire him as soon as possible. I'm relieved that the issue is finally being taken seriously and will keep you updated. That's the end of our last post. Let's see what the commenters had to say. Our first commenter says, "Oh hell no. You go make a complaint. If there is no one to complain, to make a Google review and say exactly what you say here. A 40-year-old getting handsy with a teenager. Don't let it go." Our second commenter says, "Not the asshole. That description has the hair on the back of my neck standing on end. Minimally? Report him to the studio, gym or whatever he was at. Maximally? Well, I'd be lucky to walk out of that situation with just a misdemeanor. Just saying. ETA. My first 1K plus comment. Here's hoping the perp gets his." Our third commenter says, "Not the asshole. A 40-something yoga instructor preying on a 19-year-old in front of her mother? That's not good energy, that's predatory behavior. Your mom and grandma might be charmed, but your daughter was uncomfortable, and that's all that matters. You did the right thing." That's all for today. If you enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.